Welcome back to Lleida, Catalonia, hosting a milestone event in European motorsport history as air racing makes a return to the continent. We've seen some stunning performances so far in the early stages, the two fastest planes making themselves very obvious. The distinctive and highly individual Arletty 2, a one-off French design from pilot Christian Guille. The plane the Americans call the White Monster. Jay Jones here in the yellow Cassoute, the quickest of the USA contingent, struggling to find the edge to beat the Frenchman. Although when the flag drops for the final, of course, all that could change. In the meantime, though, there's the business of our first feature race, the silver final. A lot of promise being shown by this man, Des Hart of Scotland, racing for the very first time in his Cassoute. Conditions looking absolutely perfect as they begin their taxi out to the runway. And there's the course, 6 pylons in total, a 3-mile lap for the planes, the race starting on the ground in this Formula 1 category. The grid forming up on the runway with the fastest of the planes at the front, pole position being ahead and taking the preferred line into the first pylon. Time now to join our commentator, Chris Hartley.
The green flag drops, the silver final gets underway, and it's the yellow plane of Stanislas Dameron making the most of pole position. The red plane of Bernard Marici powers into second as the leaders take to the air. Trev Jarvis with work to do from the back of the grid. Dameron, meanwhile, is first around the top of the course, with Marici keeping in touch. The 3 lead planes pretty well matched in terms of performance. On board with the leader as he tries to get his bearings. On the right of the shot, you can see he's very tight to the inside of the course. The view from Des Hart's plane through the corner. Dameron way ahead, but he was so close to the inside of the course. I'm pretty sure the race officials will be looking to see if he cut through on the inside of the pylon. Just behind him, Des Hart is lining up a move for second place from high on the outside of the turn. Pretty much past the red plane of Marici now, as you can see from the cockpit, bearing down on the lead plane of Dameron, who's keeping tight to the ground. Another battle going on at the rear of the pack, though, as Trev Jarvis pushes down on the tail of Patrick Gajan. And now Des Hart is all over the back of the lead plane. Dameron pushing that yellow buzzard to the max now, trying to keep the Scotsman back. But Des has got the momentum out of the dive. And here's Trev Jarvis powering the tailor past the French pilot, looking round again and again to make sure the other plane doesn't drift wide. A quick wave just to say I'm here, and Jarvis moves up to 5th spot. While up at the front, it's reached the crucial point. Des Hart's Cassoute now taking the higher outside line on Dameron, covering more ground, of course, but he'll power down the straight in a dive to maximise the momentum. On board with the Scotsman, pushing down now, and there's the Frenchman keeping it low, hoping he's got the legs to fight off this attack, but you can just see how much he's been pulled in. Dameron's helmet cam twitching furiously as he looks over again and again, the French pilot knowing he's going to see Des Hart any second, and indeed there's the white Cassoute, number 11. Both of these pilots racing for the very first time, and what a show they're putting on for the crowds here in Catalonia. No sign of any rookie nerves as on board with Dameron you can see Des Hart establishing himself now as the leader of this silver final. And there's a big move being made midway down the field. The red and white plane of Guy Chiraud hammering past Bernard Marici to take third. Marici left standing, which makes you think there may be a problem with the plane. As Trev Jarvis keeps up progress in the Taylor Titch in 5th, he's about to be lapped by the leader, Des Hart. The white Cassoute powers past on the outside, keeping a safe distance. And who knows what Guy Chiraud's found to get this sort of speed out of his plane. But whatever it is, definitely now working. He took 3rd spot and he's bearing down on Stanislas Dameron in 2nd place. Stan again keeping it low, hoping to hang on for just half a lap or so, because we're right in the dying moments of this race. Number 11, the blue and white Cassoute of Des Hart enjoying clear air as he banks through the final turn. No one going to trouble him now as he levels the plane out and approaches the line, which extends out from the control tower. And there's the sign. He's crossed the finish line as our winner, Des Hart of Scotland, pulls up and away, the winner of the silver final.
Well, no shortage of drama there in the silver final. Unfortunately, Stanislas Dameron demoted to 3rd place for cutting that pylon early in the race. But the honours very much belonging to winner Des Hart of Scotland. A proud family there to congratulate him.
Once I had the speed built up, it was just a case of flying smooth, reeling them in. It's pretty bumpy and turbulent today. Stan had a little problem on pylon 4 and 5, I think, coming around the back, so he went a bit wide, so that led me to pull him in even more. So, no, good race, nice and safe, everyone happy. So now we've got to go and run at the back of the gold.
Well, 8 planes in this, the gold final. Pole position on the inside, Christian Guille of France, and his incredibly quick, self-designed Arletty 2. Immediately behind him, Jay Jones from Colorado, possibly the most experienced racer. As now we hand over to commentator Chris Hartley.
Well, the race starts from the stationary positions on the grid, and as you can see, there's a definite advantage being shown by the two Cassets of Jay Jones and Tom Richard as they power past the French plane in pole. Sheer grunt doing the work here, so perhaps an indication that they've got the edge in terms of engine power. On board with Jay Jones then, as he banks that yellow plane, number 45 into the first of the turns. Tom Richard behind him in second place. But already you can see Christian Gilles taking the clever line on the inside, hoping to find a bit of a gap to push past the Swede. On board with Tom Richard, and there to his left you can see the Arletti's gone through already. Up front, Jones in the yellow number 45. On board with him, clear air ahead. But not for long by the looks of it. Christian Gilles made up a massive amount of ground down the back straight. Almost up to race speeds now, so this is when the aerodynamics start to really make a difference. And that's where everyone's saying the French plane has the big advantage. Gilles going high and wide around the second turn, looking for the gap. Jay Jones is no rookie though. He's got all the tricks there to keep the door closed, but as he said before the race, he really doesn't have much of an answer to the way this French plane goes. The Arletti 2 at full throttle now, pushing down the home straight for the first time. That beautiful sleek design, so different to all of the other planes here this weekend. 7 years since Christian Gilles completed the home build, and he's got every last wrinkle well and truly ironed out. The French plane again taking the outside line. Jay Jones making sure there's no other choice available. We've seen that yellow cassette flying so low and tight around the pylons this weekend. But Christian Gilles showing the Americans exactly what the European racers are capable of. The White Monster, as the Americans call it, powers down now, hammering past Jay Jones. The American glances across to his right, where Christian Gilles is making the move of the race. The French plane passes the leader on the outside and takes the front of this historic race. An absolutely incredible display of racing here from the Frenchman, who's powered his way from third right to the front in the space of just 2 laps. Jay Jones keeping the cassette at full throttle, still looking for that inside line, trying to push Christian Gilles to the outside line, but it's a long shot for the American really. On board with Tom Richard in third, a little bit lonely back there as he takes his cassette down the start finish straight. A little piece of cord flapping around in front of the screen, an indicator of turbulence. Back up to the battle at the front of the race, and Jay Jones struggling now to keep in touch with Christian Gilles. It'll be pure frustration for the American pilot because he's shown over the course of the last few days there's very little he can do to fight back. A graduate there from the silver final, Stan Dameron, keeping up with the fast boys as best he can, doing pretty well in 5th place. But here's the hero of the French contingent, the man they're looking to show the guys from the USA that the future of racing in Europe is an exciting prospect. Christian Gilles laps for the first time Bernard Marechis in the red plane, 384 kilometres an hour, the best average over the course for the lead plane in qualifying. Over 100 kilometres faster than Bernard, and you really can see the difference there. Vincent Martinez quite a bit faster than that, but he's not going to bother the lead pack, keeping himself out of trouble in 4th, but some way behind Tom Richard in 3rd. The leader, Christian Gilles, enjoying clear airspace once again. No challenge from behind, just the traffic up front to work around. There's an interesting battle on here though. Stan Dameron coming under pressure from Des Hart, the two who moved up from the silver final. This a repeat of their tussle in that race. The Scot chasing the Frenchman for 5th place. Bernard Marechis bringing up the back of the field in the red plane, number 25, and Steve Temple in the Panther GR7 struggling to find the performance to keep up here, all the way back down in 7th, potentially a problem with that plane. Sweden's Tom Richard in 3rd, lapping Bernard Marechis. Meanwhile, here is the battle for 5th. Once again, Des Hart of Scotland finds just enough from the blue and white cassette to push past Stan Dameron in the French Buzzard. Stan not letting the Scot have it all his own way though, keeping his head, keeping it tight around the turn, keeping out of the turbulence of the plane next to him. And while all that goes on, right behind them, we're on board with Tom Richard in 3rd as he finds a clean line past that little tussle, safely clear of Stan, and now wide and away from Des Hart. While Steve Temple still struggles away with what should have been one of the lead planes. We go on board with him. He looks around to try and keep out of trouble. That engine not sounding that healthy. Only just managing to keep himself ahead of Bernard Marechis right at the back of the field. As Jay Jones piles on the pressure behind Vincent Martinez, the American in 2nd place, lapping the Frenchman who's in 4th. Jay Jones on board there, the American pilot, the picture of cool. No stress, despite the frustration that he must be feeling. Because there's really nothing he can do now to catch this man, Christian Gilles, the Frenchman way out in the lead and safe. But this is trouble for Steve Temple, the Panther losing more and more power. That engine really in bad shape now, maybe stopped altogether, and it's difficult to tell, but the pilot looking left and right now, trying to find the gap he needs to bring it down safely. All the other pilots will be aware of what's going on. They put the call out over the radio that Steve's in trouble. They'll keep out of his way to get the Americans safely down. Jay Jones passing Bernard Marichet for the second time now. As yes, Steve Temple's brought the Panther down safely, gliding down with what appears to be engine trouble. The white flag out now for the last lap. 7 planes still in the air, but there's one which really has been in a class all of its own from start to finish. More action on board with Tom Richard. Less than a lap to go now, but still time to reel in Vincent Martinez. The Swede lapping the Frenchman, who's been a good 30 kilometres an hour slower on average. Officials pushing Steve Temple clear of the line as Christian Gill pushes down the home straight. The checkered flag out for the finish of the race as the Frenchman pulls clear with that historic victory safely now in the bag.
So Christian Gill wins for France, Jay Jones second, Tom Richard third. A little last-minute drama right at the end. We asked Steve Temple what had been the problem.
Rolling out of the 4th pylon, I felt a little pop, and then rolling on to number 5, the engine stopped with a loud explosion. Didn't know what it was because all the switches were up and running. Probably a blown motor. You know, it was bad news for the airplane. Great news, me, I'm down. You know, the other guys heard me and saw me. So that's the drama.
Well, no dramas for the winner of the race, though. Christian Gill of France taking victory in his incredible plane, Arletty 2. I'm very happy with the way I raced, but it was really, really turbulent, and that made it very tiring. 12 minutes of flying in those conditions felt easily like you'd been in the plane for an hour. So conditions in these clear blue Catalonian skies not necessarily as easy as they looked. Everyone's safe and sound though as Des Hart of Scotland climbs onto the podium to claim victory in the silver final. But the man of the moment here in Lleida, quite clearly, Christian Gill of France, winner of the very first air race won in Europe.